This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association. Your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Well, good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Thursday, December 1st, 2022. Hard to believe we're in the last month of the year already, and we're so glad you can join us today. In today's episode, I talk with Dr. Billy Beck. He's the Extension Forestry Specialist with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. And we just talked about using timber on farms as a crop. Lots of interesting discussion there. We also have a check of that ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Well, we're at the end of another trading day, and for a bit of analysis, we go to Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. First off, Kaden, what do we see going on in the grain markets today?
Yeah, it's been a pretty exciting day, Riley, really. Probably a lot of questions out there. What's going on with the bean market? Basically, the short answer is yesterday the EPA kind of put out their renewable fuel standards going out for the next 3 years, and they didn't grow the renewable fuel requirements as much as maybe was projected, which, long story short, kind of hurts demand, specifically from bean oil. So if you look at the board today, bean oil got absolutely crushed, down limit, and then some synthetically. That went down, took beans with them. Beans are down 40 cents, give or take, right now. And that kind of caused selling across corn and wheat market as well. The only real star today is bean meal. It's kind of held in there. But a lot of red, especially in the bean complex today.
So do we think that drop to the bean oil and then the soybeans in general will kind of last a little bit, or is this one of those, it'll take the hit for the day and then kind of slowly build back up?
Yeah, my opinion is that kind of the second one. I think we'll take the hit today, maybe tomorrow. I think the dust will settle and we'll kind of get back to keeping a close eye on Argentina and Brazil weather. The important thing, too, to remember is these are just kind of forecasts over the next 3 years. So, they can still change from now and then. So I don't think the market's really going to be something that it latches onto and just sells the heck out of beans. I think we'll kind of rebound, find some footing, and continue on from there.
Well, and then speaking of Brazil and Argentina, we were seeing that Brazil could be seeing not quite a record-setting crop, but possibly like a top 5 crop that they've ever seen down there. Are we expecting to see that, factor into the markets eventually, or at this point it's probably too soon to really try to account that in already?
Right. Yeah, the market's going to do as much as it can with what it knows at the time. As far as Brazil and Argentina weather goes, the sweet spot, I guess, if you will, is kind of December, January, for when their weather is really important. So obviously the market has its eye on forecast there. And like you said, Brazil's looking pretty good. Argentina has been dry, maybe looking like it will be a little bit better going forward. But again, it's important for our balance sheet, I guess, that those, and I guess the world balance sheet, that those countries have good harvests out of their bean program, or else, it obviously will pull some more exports from our program and we may get even tighter. So our market definitely has a very close eye on Brazil and Argentina. Like you said, it's okay right now, but it's definitely something to monitor going forward.
Right, and with those export sales, we had the U.S. export sales report this morning, and soybeans really just aren't performing like they really should at this time of year. This is kind of prime time that they'd be trading on that. So, are there any concerns that have really arisen from that yet?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I agree with you. The last couple of weeks, beans have been a little bit on the low end of where we'd like them to be, but really they haven't been awful in general. If you go back, looking at where we were at this point last year, we're actually even as far as sales go on the books. So, bean program maybe not as in trouble as much as corn right now. Corn's 50% behind last year, which we know the corn program really doesn't kick in until after the first of the year, after we get all these beans shipped. But we want to keep a close eye on it. We'd love to see more bean exports going, and we really want to see them shipped as opposed to just sales. But you're right. I think that unless exports really take off in a big way, I think you're going to see the bean market somewhat capped. But I also think it's important to realize it may not be quite as bad as it may seem at face value.
All right. And then what are we seeing on the other side of the marketplace in the livestock complex?
Yeah, today the hog market really is the star of the livestock complex. February up 380, close to $4. So it's leading the way. Feeders a little bit behind that. They're still green though, and Pat's just off a little bit. So the one I'm watching the most right now to see how the chart plays out is feeders. We kind of made a double bottom last week. If that double bottom holds, you'd like to see that we keep going up. However, if we sell and go back and kind of test that area, it may be forming kind of a head and shoulder pattern, which would cause more selling and paying below. So definitely something to keep your eye on there is the feeder cattle market, how that chart pattern plays out.
And we're kind of in the peak of a holiday season right now. Do we anticipate having any kind of increase in demand as we get towards the end of the holiday season as well?
I think demand will stay strong across the livestock markets. I also think, we saw really all three of them kind of get smoked there at the end of the month, November. I kind of think as we get into December here, funds will start buying again. Kind of think they were evening up, in December at the end of November, and kind of looking for them to come back in buying wise, because I think demand is pretty strong going forward. So we've kind of seen that, 2 out of 3 livestock markets today. Hopefully that'll continue to happen.
All right, Caden. Well, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners and our viewers who would like to get in touch and learn more from the folks at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
Yeah, be sure to go to our website. You can reach any of our brokers there, or if you want to call me directly, my direct line is 815-691-2672.
That again was Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. We'll go ahead and take a look at how those numbers close. That's courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. March corn down 6.5 at 660.5. January soybeans down 39 3/4 at 1429 3/4. Soybean meal up 380 at 421.60. Soybean oil taking it on the chin today. Limit down 450 at 67.38. Chicago wheat down 12.5 at 783 even. Minneapolis spring wheat down 5 even at 938 even. Kansas City hard red wheat down 9.5 at 890 1/4. March oats down 7 1/4 at 378 1/2. On the Merc, December live cattle down 2 cents at 153.05. January feeders up 60 at 181.07. December lean hogs up 22 at 83.12. Pork cutout down 27 at 90.65. And December class 3 milk up 45 at 20.28. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I talk with Dr. Billy Beck about using timber as a crop. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Well, yesterday I was up at Iowa State University for the Integrated Crop Management Conference. Many unique topics going on there, but one of the most unique ones was using timber as a crop. Many farmers have just areas along creeks and such that have timber and tree lines that really could use some management, or even if they want to cut down and maybe make some profit off of that, they can. So I had an interesting discussion with Dr. Billy Beck. He's the Extension Forestry Specialist, about how farmers can take advantage of that situation and still maintain the ecosystem that they'd have in that area. Just had an interesting session on using timber as a crop, and that's something that maybe most Iowans don't really think about. But as you mentioned, a lot of farmers have those timberlands, along creeks and everything, where they have trees that maybe they need to do a little better job of managing. So, let's talk a little bit on the practicality of having a timber crop from a farm and just kind of the benefits that farmers across the state can see from that.
Yeah, so I've been a forester in the Midwest for a while now, and what that means is I deal with a lot of agricultural producers. A lot of agricultural producers own woodland, but it's almost like an afterthought. They're busy with a lot of other stuff. The management of them is a lot different than traditional livestock or corn and beans. So a lot of them aren't really confident in what do I do with these areas? What's the return interval? When do I do my inputs? When do I see a return? What resources are out there to help me? But I really do believe that a lot of these on-farm woodlands, and you're right, they're along creeks, they're along the back 40 that a lot of people just don't go back into for many, many years. they're just not being maximized. And I really believe, and when they're not maximized, they're not valued. And when they're not valued, they get degraded. And then I think that kind of hurts the whole state because they provide so much ecological benefits, clean water, clean air, wildlife habitat, pollinators to the entire state, in addition to all those great benefits they provide for the landowner. So I really think they're kind of an asset waiting to spring forth with the right kind of management. And for practicality, it's a lot of work, but there's a lot of great resources out there. So I love conferences like this because it lets me connect the ag folks with the resources for forestry that are out there. So they don't have to do it alone. There's funding out there. There's professionals out there to help them. And that's a longer story, but I really want them to start exploring it and start viewing these areas. People call them wastelands all the time, and it drives me crazy. But I want to start to have them view these as an asset to their farm enterprise and not a wasteland or a waste. So.
Right, and let's talk a little bit on that economic side of things. Maybe a little bit of a basic walkthrough of the process of getting that timber kind of set aside, who to reach out to get that cut down, and then how farmers need to go about making sure that they're getting the value that they need to get from that timber.
Yeah, so honestly, the first thing you should do is start thinking about your goals for the woodland. And I'll say this again, like a lot of times, more and more often, folks are managing their woodlands for wildlife value or just a great place to relax with their family, aesthetics, recreation, and not solely timber revenue. But timber harvest is a tool to get to a lot of those objectives. And if you own timber, you're probably more than likely going to do one timber harvest in your life. And you need to do it the right way because if you don't, it'll have decadal negative impacts to that woodland. So the first thing I would do is establish your goals. And you can work with a professional forester to help you kind of walk your woods and start talking about, it's good to think and talk out loud with folks to get your goals set. What do you want? What do you want in the next 10, 20, 30, 100 years for this woodland? Once you have your goal down, you can work with your forester to establish a forest stewardship plan. That's your guide to how to achieve those objectives. And they're going to prescribe activities from now until perpetuity to achieve that plan, to achieve those objectives. And timber harvest is often a practice that they prescribe. So once that forester prescribes it and says, okay, this is the right time to do it, this is the right timber condition that needs to happen, this is the right size of the trees that need to be on the ground to do this harvest to benefit you, then they'll go out and they'll mark those specific trees to harvest, and they'll give you an estimate of that species composition, the number of trees you're going to harvest, the size of those, the volume of those, and they're going to give you an estimate about, okay, what do I think in general that this sale is going to bring you as far as revenue. So again, I'll say this again, not only is that going to achieve your economic goals, it's going to achieve your ecological goals too. So if somebody just comes in not knowing your goals and starts cutting away and picking out the stuff they want, that's not going to help you. You're not going to get the maximum financial return, and you're not going to be achieving your additional goals like habitat or pollinators or clean water or whatever. So that's what's key about working with that forester. So they're going to give you an estimate of, okay, this is what you got for this sale, and I'm going to say you're going to get this much from it because I know the buyers in the area, and this is probably what they're going to give you. Are they always dead on? No, but they give you a very good idea of what you're going to get. Then you work with the forester to solicit that sale out to the buyer. So they get a sheet that says exactly what's been marked, the volume, the grade, the quality, all that stuff. And then the buyers come in and check out the woodlands, and then they place their bid in a sealed bid. You get the bids, you open the bid, you get the top dollar, and you select the top bid. And then you get a contract together ensuring that you get paid in full between the chainsaws even start. And then the loggers come in and do their magic. So one thing I will say, though, is that it is very critical to get that contract in writing to be explicit about what you want and what's expected from that harvest situation. So.
Right, and you've touched on this already, but that ecological side of things is another thing to be considered there. A lot of farmers are even looking at, I need to cut down this timber. There's too many trees close to my fields. Personally, we always had a struggle with beavers coming out, knocking down trees, and it falls into the field. Yep. So you can always take advantage of that. It's like, well, I need to do this management. Let's get a little bit of profit off of that as well.
Right, and it's not even like there's timber harvest, but there's other ways to harvest and do like thinnings, like you said, and get not only timber revenue, but like, fence posts, what they call non-timber forest products. So there's other things out there in the woodlands through management that benefits the ecology that you can get a financial return on before you get all the way to that final harvest situation. So there's a lot of steps in there, and the forestry will be your guide on that about how we can recoup costs along the way, not just 60 years in the future. So.
Right, and if there are farmers out there who are interested in kind of seeing what their timber is worth and maybe what their options are with that area, where's the first place they should go to kind of get that process started?
That's a great question. A lot of folks aren't familiar with that. First thing I would say is go out yourself and just start walking around. Before you even know the terms or talking to a forester, just start thinking about how you use this land, how you value it, what you want to see this land look like in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and just kind of get your thoughts together. Write those down. Check your boundaries. A lot of people even don't know where the exact boundaries are, but just get a sense of your woodlands on your own. Then I would, we've got a number of ways to get in contact with professional foresters. There's our online forestry contacts page on our extension website. There's also your USDA service center in every county. So NRCS is a great guide for not only hooking you up with foresters, but advising you on financial opportunities, cost share opportunities. But there's private consulting foresters around the state, and then there's Iowa DNR district foresters around the state. So with our contacts page or NRCS, those two would be your first step.
All right, Billy, and do you have any other tips for farmers who might be considering, just checking out that timber, seeing what it's worth, and even checking out the ecological side of things on the benefits they could see?
I would just say get out there more than once a year, start assessing it, and just kind of start educating yourself. A lot of folks don't know what they've got, and I think when you don't know what you have, you kind of brush it aside and don't value it. So honestly, and I know everyone's super busy, start going to some forestry extension events. I know this is a shameless plug, but just start educating yourself, especially things like, do I have invasive species out there? What other threats are my forest is my forest facing? Do I have storm damage? Do I have insects and disease? Just start educating yourself. What species do I have out there? Just basic stuff to get them kind of connected and interested in the property. Then you can have a really more effective conversation with your forester. So we've got, again, shameless plug, we've got online resources, we've got in-field events that can help educate you on everything as basic from tree ID to insect and pest damage ID, what to do with storm damage. So I think that would be it. It's just that educate yourself on your woodlands and then have that effective first conversation with your forester. So.
All right, Billy. Well, thanks for taking the time to visit with us today.
Thanks, Riley. Appreciate it.
That again was Dr. Billy Beck, the Extension Forestry Specialist with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. As for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at that ag weather outlook. It's going to be a little more seasonal right now, and tomorrow's looking even a little nicer yet, but then we could see temperatures drop off after that into the weekend. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the National Weather Service has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, like I said, those seasonable temperatures are back for the next couple of days. Today we've got sunny skies and windy conditions with patchy snow in the northwest, highs ranging from the upper 30s to upper 40s. Tonight it'll be mostly clear and breezy with lows overnight ranging from the upper 20s to low 30s. And tomorrow expect partly sunny skies with a chance for rain in the east and a wintry mix in the northwest. Highs ranging from the low 40s to upper 50s. And taking a look at the affiliate weather map, as you can see for tomorrow, Cherokee will be seeing that wintry mix and partly cloudy skies with a high of 44. Shenandoah mostly sunny with a high of 59. Des Moines mostly sunny and 55. Waterloo mostly sunny and 49. Albia partly cloudy and 56. And Clinton will be partly cloudy with a chance for rain and a high of 53. For more detailed forecasts in your part of the state, make sure to check in with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. That's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can find all of our video content as well as previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free Twice Daily Market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Dustin Huffman and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.